it's this idea that we shouldn't be living life. Like, we should be living life vigorously.
I picked up a microphone and decided I want to be the podcast host that makes you think and has you feeling like you belong somewhere. Welcome to another edition of Vigorously with me, Val Hands. Love doing these music-themed episodes. New wave pop act Camp Crush is here to help me out with that today. Thank you both so much for being here.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'm thrilled too. I found you on Instagram. I was stalking and I was like, we need to have a conversation about cats. We need to have a conversation about new wave pop. We need to have a conversation about all the things. I think probably cats is where we should start because this podcast welcomes cat talk. Do you have cats? Talk about cats.
Oh my God.
We have like a ridiculous amount of cats. It's like past like the okay point. We have 3 cats.
Oh, 3. Okay. Do they get along? Because that's hard.
It's not a ridiculous amount. It's not like
it's like 20.
It's bordering on ridiculous for sure. They mostly get along. They coexist.
Yeah.
True cat statement right there. Just kind of tolerate everybody.
Yeah. They all have that coexist bumper sticker on their haunches. No, they're hilarious, and they all have unique personalities.
They all love to sit on amps, though. I don't know if you've ever fought like cats on amps.
Yeah,
like on Instagram, and they should be Instagram stars.
They should be.
I guess because the amps are warm after you play. I'm like, what? I have no idea why, but I know what you're talking about because mine does the same thing. With my Marshall, and she goes between there, and she likes to just she has a favorite blanket on our bed that she will sleep on. No other blanket but this one. I'm like, man,
that's I think why aren't we laying on warm places? It sounds great.
Maybe we need to take notes.
Yeah.
Honestly, but no, I love them. I grew up with them. They're awesome. So tell me about your version of new wave pop, because I mean, this is a genre. I feel like you either know a lot about it or you don't. You've heard a lot about it or you haven't. So let's talk about your version of it.
Yeah, it's sort of we're both really inspired by like the late 80s, like Cure, Depeche Mode, Duran Duran. But then also, we're making music today, we're not trying to replicate, that sound. And so for us, it's sort of a blend of writing music today that feels fresh, but also very inspired by like the synthy layers of, the late 80s.
Yeah, like very much an homage to our musical inspirations and backgrounds. And I think actually it's important to note that Jen has 4 older brothers. You're the oldest one, 17 years older than she is. And so that's where she actually, like, even as a young kid, I mean, I'm telling your story.
No, I love it. No, one of my brothers legit had like a really rad Camaro in the late 80s.
He had a bitchin' Camaro.
Camaro. And he like put one of those huge speakers in the back of the Camaro, and so he'd be blasting like hair metal and all the 80s classics. So I just it's infused in me very early.
All thanks to that brother. Sometimes it's either brother or dad. I'm finding in all these stories that I'm hearing. I love that. But synthesizers, I mean, given the era, given the vibe that we're going for, hugely prevalent, obviously, in your music. So I was just curious as to why that instrument in particular caught your attention. What attracted you to synths?
Yeah, well, I grew up playing piano, started really early. I was like 4 when I started like singing and piano lessons and all of that. So I grew up doing that. And then, sort of gradually added a synth here, in here or there. And then, now they've all transformed into many, many synths in the house and less classical piano. So growing up playing piano, and it sort of felt like a really fun next step for me. And then that opened up a huge like sonic world for us.
I think there was a moment where we almost had to give ourselves permission, and like we were like, oh, can I actually use this other patch on my keyboard? Is that okay? Or can I only play like piano sounds?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a change in music, because we've played many different types of music in our past. And this is maybe a hidden secret, but we had a little bit of a folk band in the past, and it will remain in the past. However, you know, that was mostly just piano sounds, and then you like probably even just accidentally bumped a button, and then all of a sudden we're a synth pop band. So
Well, synths almost make it a little bit easier to layer and experiment, I imagine too. And
Yeah.
they can give something a totally different vibe just sonically. So how do we go how do we go from folk to new wave pop?
You know, I think it was really this moment where, like you said, give yourself permission. I think we actually had a sit down. You know, we're married. We've been doing this, like doing music together for our entire relationship, and we had this sit down talk, and we were like, what if we made music that we like? Like, what if it's not just about like whatever music we think we should be making? What if we actually tried to make the music that we like to listen to? And that was this big aha moment. And then we had to figure out, okay, well, how can we do that with just two people? And so that's now I play with 4 synths on stage. I have a bass synth, I have a lead synth, I've got, you know, my arpeggiating synth, I've got my like workhorse layer synth, you know. And so, you know, we had to sort of figure out how to do it. But that was sort of the leap, is kind of gave ourselves permission to be like, what if we just made music that we want to listen to?
yeah, like what if we had fun, you know?
I mean, what a concept.
Yeah.
Imagine that. So were you just was it kind of getting stale for you at that point?
Yeah, I think so. I think we were just like, we were thinking, like when we were in the folk, you know, in our folk era, you know, we were sort of like, well, I guess what kinds of like songs are people writing? I think it was just it felt like we were attempting to do something, and just like, instead of just like attempting to be ourselves.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I think that project I feel came more from like looking at the concept first. Oh, speaking of cats, you know, one of them crazy right here.
We have a guest, a
Yeah,
beautiful tuxedo for anybody that's listening audio
yes,
version.
yes. He's a lap cat. Anyways, yeah, that was kind of approaching from the concept first, maybe instead of like music first, which,
Mm.
you know, I think concept is definitely important. Those things can go hand in hand, but when things really started to get really interesting and fun, and like unlocked for us, was when we just looked at the music straight up and said, what do we want to do? What do we want to make? What's our inspiration? Kind of what connects us to our instrument on stage more. And anytime we like have a lull from shows, we start to get weird. You know, we start to like do
Stir
weird,
crazy.
yeah, weird
A little bit.
hobbies. And then we're like, what's happening? Why do I feel, yeah, we haven't played music in a while. And so it's coming back to like, yeah, music is pretty core, central part of our being. And so
I feel the same way when I'm not creating, or when I'm not like doing photography or recording audio or editing video.
yeah,
I'm like, I didn't make anything today. I need to do something. Like,
yeah,
like it's just what I do. That's hysterical. I mean, and I could see the setup in the Tiny Desk submission for this year. For
Yeah.
anybody that didn't catch that, you sent that into NPR, and I don't know that I've met a musician or talked to a musician about the process of doing that, because that's huge to be on Tiny Desk. What actually goes into the submission process?
Well, first you have to have a desk, right? And
Right, great start.
you've got to start there. And actually, we were going into this really cool like warehouse film place to make it, and we thought that they were going to have a desk, and then last minute they were like, we don't have a desk in here. And
Tiny
so,
Desk doesn't have a desk.
yeah, they didn't have a desk, and so we we found some brown clay, and Chris made a very tiny, very cute desk that you can see. It's like sitting on my synth in that video. So
Oh my God, this is very Spinal Tap already. Like,
yeah, it was very.
here's the miniature desk.
yeah.
We've got it. And then, but then, you know, it's like figuring out your audio and like what, you know, really trying to make sure that you can capture who you are. Cause I think the thing about Tiny Desk is that it's not just about the song. It's really about trying to like show who you are in, you know, in one song's time, which is, you know, not the easiest thing to do.
We like to make a lot of noise and a lot of sound. And sometimes that can be interesting when you capture it, just like through a film camera. So it's something we have to think about is, you know, mic placement and, you know, maybe toning it down a hair when we need to, depending on
Well,
you know.
plus that song has one swear in it, and so
Oh,
you have to make sure you skip it.
One
are we
swear.
not allowed to have swears in the submissions? I guess
Feels
not.
like an
It's
underscore.
NPR, probably not.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Do you think that making the switch to a genre that's more authentic to who you are as people has translated into growing your community and growing your fan base?
Oh yeah. I
That's a
mean,
great
it's
question.
great. And I think the answer is absolutely yes for us, because we're not trying to be, we just literally are ourselves, on Instagram. It horrifies my daughter. She's just like, I can't believe you said that. That's so cringe. Uh, uh,
Oh,
but I'm like, I think at the end of the day, connecting with your people, with your community, with your fans, like it has to be fun. Like it has to be like, if you're having fun, then other people are having fun. If you're being yourself, other people feel welcome to the party. And so yeah, absolutely. I think the thing about Camp Crush for us is that it really just is us. We try to really be ourselves.
And it has, you said community. So we've developed obviously a connection to a fan base, which is amazing. But like through Camp Crush, we've built this incredible connection community to the music scene here in Portland. And so, at least once, twice a week, we're not only doing our own music, but we're going to friends' shows. There's an incredible, vibrant music community here. And there has been for a long time, but right now we have these other bands that are making incredible dance, synth pop, electronic music. There's a lot of indie rock, obviously, it's the Pacific Northwest, but there is this pop scene that is coming up with amazing people making very unique, interesting, incredible music, which dance music obviously having like this huge resurgence.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's really cool to just get connected to the city in our own way, in our own corner, and feel like, hey, actually, we have this corner of the city that we feel like we belong in and connect to, and also contribute and create together too.
So you feel like everybody supports each other. Musicians, when it comes to musicians in Portland, they support each other.
There's a massive supportive network, musician to musician here. And a lot of things that people are doing of just like, obviously we get together and hang out at shows, but musicians are doing all sorts of other things together too. Just having barbecues and, just like going down to the river together. There's a lot of different things that people are doing that are like, hey, we can connect as people and as musicians and all of these things, which is great.
Hiking Mount Hood or something. That's something that's on my bucket list. My
Going
Portland
yeah.
camping. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
that over here.
I mean, I think next weekend is the Portland Goth Float, where people dress in their best goth, and they float down the river, and it's just very Portland. So it's
Yes. that is right out of Portlandia. I know.
It's very real. It's like that's really happening next weekend.
Oh my God. Well, so I definitely see the connection between the two of you. We know you're a husband and wife duo. Do you think that that's presented any challenges, or maybe it makes collaborating that much sweeter musically?
I think probably there are some husband and wife duos that like wouldn't be able to collaborate, on songwriting. But we're sort of like dorks for each other, so it like works really well. But the way I usually like will write like the bones of the song, and then bring it to Chris, and then Chris might go, oh, I'm kind of getting this vibe, and he'll add a few beats and we'll kind of feel it out. And then you usually have a lot of ideas around, kind of how we should shape the song and production stuff. And then we go back and forth. So there is that like one vulnerable moment where you're like, I wrote a thing. Are you gonna like it? But Chris is really good. He's a good listener, and
it's kind of an extension of what we do outside of music too. It's just our collaboration as people, comes into music well, and I don't know, we haven't really had, everybody has arguments or whatever, but
you're not married if you haven't bickered at least once over the dumbest thing.
You got to have songwriting material,
Yeah.
But we've just found really collaborating together is something that comes very easily, and we're lucky to be able to work together so well, which is great. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And if we rewind to 2022, that's when the Always EP came out. I was
Yep.
wondering if you thought that that was a fair representation of where your sound is today, or do you think we're changing since then?
That's a great question. Actually, we just pressed print on our first full length record, and it's going to be coming out in the spring. And
That's exciting.
so exciting. We are going to be doing like some single releases over the next few months. And what's cool about this record is that, Shadows, which was the kind of the bigger single from the last EP, really is like sparkly and very dancey. And this record, it's that, but a little bit darker, so it's a little bit of like, it has some elements of dark wave in it, which I'm really excited about. I think we can start dressing like we're from the Matrix now. I think like I have permission with this record.
There's no like house or techno or anything like that, but
No, it's just a little like, I think it's got some real teeth to it. So it's,
yeah, I think Shadows is kind of like a precursor to some of like maybe the direction that we're starting to go. I think when we first started the band, like we said, transitioning from maybe some other genres, we'd play live shows with a guitarist, a bassist, and a trombone player from
Wow.
time
Okay.
to time.
the first few shows
Yeah,
had the other
the first few
trombone
shows
player.
until we really realized, hey, this is us. This is the two of us, and that's what makes us special, and that's what we're gonna like focus on going forward. And ever since we did that, and like we talked about layering the synths into the sound, we've kind of moved more and more in this direction of embracing that new wave, dark wave, indie synth sound that kind of starts to lean a little bit more into complex lyricism and just ideas that tend to maybe lean into darker territory, or I don't know. It's all just like we like to think about the complexities of life and pour that into synth music.
I mean, it's still coming from us, and we're just like two Labrador puppies, like running around, so it's like darker, it's still coming from us. But, I think it's just like some moodier, so it's still really dancey, but there's some moodier synth patches.
I've kind of always thought I was an Irish setter, but
Wiener dog for me. I'm definitely a wiener because I'm under 5'2", so I think that automatically means wiener dog or corgi category.
Oh my God. Well, I'm 6'6",
Oh
so
wow,
opposite ends of the spectrum here.
Great Dane. It's got to be a Great Dane.
Yeah.
Great
Nailed it.
Dane, Mastiff,
Yep,
something.
that's me.
Beautiful dogs though. They're hysterical.
I'll take it.
So where do you think that darkness or that shift comes from?
Yeah, I think, well, I think some of it is just that like I got some really cool vintage synths that like really inspiring,
I'll do it.
and so, it's like the sound sort of led some of that. And then, like as a woman, like
Oh,
sometimes
girl,
there's a
don't
lot
even
to
get me
be
started.
angry about, you gotta get it out, you gotta express. And so I think part of it's just like what's happening in the world and as a woman and, in this industry, but just like existing, I think so just trying to be as honest as I can in the music, but also letting the sounds sort of lead the way.
Yeah. Is there any sort of teaser or sneak peek or any information we can get that we can look forward to for this release, or what's new, what's
Yeah.
coming in your world?
We just had a new song come out actually. So there's an amazing compilation. I think it's the 21st version that just came out. It's called PDX Pop Now, and they've been doing it for 21 years. All the great Portland bands that have come out of here, back to Decemberists and, even Slater Kinney in the area. A lot of these bands was on one of the early ones. But they're still doing it every year. They put out a compilation of like 40 songs from amazing multi-genre, across genre Portland bands. And we just had an early mix of one of our new songs called Distractions is on the compilation that just came out a week ago. And when we play that song live, we call it our it's the theme song of the what do we say? It's complex. It's the under the sea themed prom in outer space.
In space, yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's like if the prom from Back to the Future was like at an alien high school, then maybe you can kind of get a little bit of like the synthy vibe.
And also underwater.
And also underwater somehow.
It's like, yeah, there's like mermaids,
and David Lynch is like floating by.
Anyway, that you can hear, so that's an early version of what will eventually, you'll hear the full version on our record. But it sounds amazing, and so that's out, and you can stream it everywhere. It's called Distractions. You should check it out.
Yeah. You're funny on socials too. I love the reels and the clips that you're putting on there. I definitely know that that's going to be the place where we find out any new information too. So make sure you go follow that. Thank you both. I know it's the spot. Thank you both for being here. Thank you both for your time. I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, thank you,
so
Val.
much. This is fun.